Three baby dinosaurs are about to be born. The dinosaur couple are waiting anxiously. This is the first baby dinosaur to break out of its shell. He climbs onto his mother's back as soon as he is born. He's very smart and clever. Then the second egg is born. The second one is very mischievous. He picks up a wooden stick and knocks it around. There was only the biggest one left. Dad thought it must be a big one, but when he opened it, there was only a tiny body inside the huge eggshell. Even its guts were very small. This little dinosaur was named Arlo. He was destined to be something special from birth. It didn't take long for the little dinosaurs to grow up. Sister could already plow the ground with her face, and his brother could irrigate the crops, but Arlo was still small in stature. He could only do small tasks like feeding the chickens. Even so, he was often bullied by the hens. Dad led the children to the granary and carved his footprints into the stone wall. This is a symbol of honor. Only those who have contributed to the family can be stamped on it. Soon all the brothers and sisters have carved their seals. Only Arlo was still unable to do anything. To encourage Arlo, his father, he gave him a new job. He was to guard the granary. Dad set up a trap and told Arlo that if a thief fell into the trap, a stick like this would do the trick. In order to get his seal engraved, Arlo kept a watchful eye on the granary. Before the trap is triggered, Arlo cautiously approached, and there was a little wild man. Arlo wanted to hammer him, but then he couldn't bear it. The kind-hearted Arlo finally lets him go. Dad was furious when he found out. He decided to take Arlo and chase the little wild man back, but suddenly there was lightning and thunder on the way. There was a storm. A flood of water suddenly came from far away. Dad pushed Arlo up against the rocks with all his might. He was swept in by the flood. When Arlo saw the little wild man again, he thought that the little savages were responsible for his father's death, so he rushed forward in anger.
Get over here!
But when the little wild man walked past, Arlo chases him away in fear. By now, Arlo was lost, and it was raining. He had built a simple tent from a tree trunk, but as soon as it was set up, water leaked out. He was laughed at by some mice. Suddenly the grass shakes. Arlo was terrified. It turns out that the little wild man has brought a lizard for Arlo, to repay him for saving his life. But how could he eat this thing? Seeing that Arlo wouldn't eat it, the little wild man grabbed another beetle. He was afraid he wouldn't know how to eat it, so he gave him a demonstration. Looking at the big pincers, Arlo couldn't eat it. The wild man brought some berries this time. The hungry Arlo finally ate them all.
Squeeze the life out of you. Before I do, find me some more.
The dinosaur is about to fall off the cliff, before the little savage bit into his leg. A bridge of dinosaurs appears in an instant. It turns out the delicious berries are just across the road. The hungry Arlo was suddenly energized. He climbs up in a flash, but as soon as he took a bite, a viper fell on his nose. Arlo was so frightened that he flung it away, but he fell with it. Before he could stand up, the snake attacked him instantly. Then the little wild man suddenly stepped in front of him. The nimble little wild man had the snake in his sights. He then took a bite when he wasn't looking. In the end, the snake ran away. The only way to beat a snake is to be fast. They continued on their way. Suddenly they came across a mole. The little wild man rushed after it. They came to the mole's hole. The little wild man blew hard. The mole was blown out at once. Arlo played along with him, but his lungs were not strong enough. So the more they played, the more they got in. To it. Arlo accidentally fell into the river. Luckily, the little wild man could do anything, and taught him how to swim. But they came up with something else. Tired of playing, the two of them, they picked up the fruit on the ground and ate it. It tasted strange. It turned out to be moldy and rotten. They were suddenly dizzy. Their eyes were dizzy. Night falls. The sky is lit up by beautiful fireflies. It was spectacular. Arlo, who hadn't been home for a long time, thought of his family. He drew a circle to represent his home, and his father has fallen. Little did he know that little Savage's parents had also passed away. The two of them, who were in the same boat, snuggled together. The journey had made them best friends, and they became the best of friends. After dawn, Arlo continued his search for a way home. Suddenly the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. Arlo remembered how his father had been swept away by the flood. He ran for his life in fear. He was eventually swept away by the sand and wind. By the time he woke up again, they had lost their way. When some pterodactyls flew in, they claimed to have come to search for the injured, and promised to help Arlo find his way home. That's when the pterodactyls spotted the bunny in a rock. The next moment, it revealed its true nature. They swallowed the bunny in one gulp. Arlo was stunned. The cunning pterodactyl also spotted the little wild man. They run away in a hurry. Arlo sees a long-necked dragon not far away. He thought he had found his savior, but as they got closer, it was the dreaded Tyrannosaurus. Two Tyrannosaurus Rexes chase after the little dinosaur. In the blink of an eye, the little dinosaur is pounced on by a pterosaur from behind. He was about to be killed, but the Tyrannosaurus chases away the pesky pterosaurs. It turns out they are here to save Arlo. They were very friendly and welcoming. They are willing to help Arlo find his way home, but first they need to find their lost herd. The young wildlings, with their keen sense of smell, they soon found the lost herd. In order to find the cattle rustlers, Tyrannosaurus wanted Arlo to stand on a rock and shout, to draw out the rustlers. But the timid Arlo is too scared. He didn't dare to make a sound. The young savage had to help him. Several velociraptors were attracted to him at once. They attacked Arlo. Luckily, the Tyrannosaurus Rex appeared just in time. The frightened cattle flee. The cunning raptors took the opportunity to attack the Tyrannosaurus. On the other side, Arlo has the courage to charge. The raptor tries to fight back, but the Tyrannosaurus bites down on him, and he's thrown away. The raptors are finally chased away. By the end of the day, they gather around a barbecue. Arlo looks at the scars on his body, and the Tyrannosaurus told him, the scars are a sign of honor. In the face of cruel nature, only the brave can survive. One day Arlo suddenly saw a snowy mountain in the distance. That was the direction of home. He was overjoyed. After bidding farewell to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, Arlo and the wildlings were on their way home again. Just as they were getting closer to home, several pterodactyls reappeared. They grabbed the little wild man in one fell swoop, and Arlo was pushed off the cliff. The vines wrapped around him. He watched as the wildlings were taken away, but there was nothing he could do. In his desperation, he saw his father. At that moment he finally understood. The only way to beat the odds is to be brave. He breaks free from his chains and runs to the river. The young wildling is now surrounded by pterodactyls. This time he didn't hesitate to rush forward. He slammed both of them into the river. With a hole in their wings, the pterodactyl can only scramble away, and then the torrent comes again. The little wildlings were about to be swept away. Arlo rushes forward. At the last minute, he blocked the flood with his body. As Arlo emerged from the water, he swam desperately towards the little wild man. In the nick of time, Arlo shields the little wild man with his body. He rushed down the waterfall with him. Luckily, the two survived. After all the hardships of the journey, Arlo was finally on his way home. But suddenly there was a strange noise behind him. It was a group of wildlings. The young wildlings felt a closeness they had never felt before. Arlo knew it was time to say goodbye, but the little wildlings still didn't want to leave him. So Arlo drew a circle on the ground. This is your home. And the little wild man finally understood. After they had said goodbye to each other, Arlo finally returned to his home. The family hugged each other happily. By now, Arlo was no longer the timid boy. Now he has grown up. Like his father, he has grown up to be responsible. He has finally stamped his own badge on the stone wall.